It looks like an anemone. It acts like an anemone. When scientists finally described it in 2006, they believed it was an anemone. But there's a fine line between how an animal looks and how it actually fits into the tree of life. This giant deep-sea anemone, also currently known as Relicanthus, is not like any other known anemone on Earth. But it was largely overlooked for decades after its discovery. The year is 1979. The first ever expedition of a deep-sea hydrothermal vent, including biologists, set sail for the East Pacific Rise. This boundary of two tectonic plates houses an ecosystem not even known to exist just a few years prior. Aboard a submersible equipped with brand new camera technology, biologists catch the first glimpse of life in this extreme habitat. It's likely Relicanthus was observed during these initial expeditions, but most of the biological research centered on more charismatic creatures. Giant tube worms with their blood-red flesh dazzled the scientists, leaving the anemone to exist on the edge of obscurity. Anemones are cnidarians, animals with multiple stinging cells. This familiar shape eventually clued scientists into the giant sea anemone's heritage. A purplish, pink stalk covered in thick, similarly colored tentacles give them a silhouette not unlike its stinging relatives found in shallow water reefs. It wasn't even the size that gave the researchers pause. Other large sea anemones exist in far easier to study regions. It was instead the long, thread-like, trailing filaments that spanned upwards of 6.5 feet, 2 meters, from the animal's 1 foot, 30 centimeter diameter base. That's really big for an anemone. Life on the edge is nothing new for this inconspicuous cnidarian. It's clear from scientific studies that researchers knew about the Relicanthus's presence on these deep-sea vents, but it lived just outside the scope of classification until 2006. Even then, its new name didn't stick. Over time, taxonomic revisions happen, but rarely on this scale. As humans develop new ways to better study the organisms around us, we gain a more detailed understanding of how these organisms align with others. For most animals, even newly discovered species, this process occurs in a relative vacuum. A never-before-seen frog is found in a remote location, or anatomical data suggests an insect is somewhat different from a close relative. But the giant sea anemone wasn't found on its own. It was surrounded by hundreds of new animal discoveries. Obscured by these others, it sank into anonymity. Identifying new animal species is important. It's the first step to understanding the ecological impact that species has. What an organism contributes to the ecosystem, how it helps maintain a meticulous environmental balance, and the way its loss could harm the surrounding biology, all starts with identification. Giant deep-sea anemones live on the fringe of the vent's landscape. Situated in the boundary of teeming life on the vent to a vast, desert-like landscape outside of its warm embrace, Relicanthus is a sentinel. Its long, stinging threads drift nearly invisible around the vent's edges. Any animals unfortunate enough to be caught are eaten, These deep-sea giants eat macrofauna moving between vent fields, with at least one confirmed predation of shrimp. The giant anemone's total impact on vent life is unknown, but understanding of that starts with their name, something these invertebrates continue to elude. By 2014, Relicanthus was no longer considered an anemone. Genetic research suggested it didn't cleanly fit into this animal order. Instead, the cnidarian was bestowed with its own entirely new order of animals. Most taxonomic changes keep an animal within the same branches of its similar-looking relatives, but a change of this scale would be something entirely different. It's easier to understand with a more charismatic creature. Let's pretend a new species is discovered. It looks and acts like a bear, so that's what it's called. Further research, including genetic research on a molecular level, indicates this new species isn't a bear at all. It's not even really closely related to the bears alive today, so it gets reclassified. This bear-looking animal is described not as a new type of carnivore, but a new type of mammal altogether. For Relicanthus, this wasn't a simple move on the tree of life. It was the construction of an entirely new branch, and not everyone agreed it was correct. Little is known about this enigmatic animal's life. Its yolky eggs, larger than any other anemone eggs previously reported, suggest a reproductive strategy that may be wholly separate from that of any other known species. It's possible these well-nourished offspring can survive longer in the water column before settling. It could be a way to give their larvae enough time to spread out and find a new home. Perhaps this is an effort to help facilitate this solitary species' survival in these ephemeral seafloor habitats. Later research would reveal further evidence that this organism, currently known as Relicanthus, is, in fact, an anemone, although quite unlike any other. While it shares structures in its stinging cells only seen in other anemone species, it is otherwise difficult to relate to them. Even genetic research leaves scientists baffled. It's likely that this giant sea anemone will receive further taxonomic evaluation and changes, meaning it may not even be the giant sea anemone we've been calling it today. Overlooked for decades for research into other species, its place on the tree of life remains uncertain. If something looks like an anemone, overall acts like an anemone, and displays characteristics only found in other anemone species, does that make it an anemone? Or do all the differences that stack up against this hypothesis suggest something else similar, but entirely its own? Until more research is conducted, this animal will continue to live just outside our reach of understanding. If you enjoy content like this, consider supporting us on Patreon. Dad, SpikeSpiegel93, and the rest of our supporters gain access to bonus facts, exclusive videos, and more. Click the link on screen or in the video description to learn more. Give a thumbs up if you learned something new, and let us know in a comment. Most importantly, thank you for watching Animal Fact Files.